The world is coming to an end. I've heard people say this to me in recent times. They think, oh, is this COVID? Is this God's punishment for the world? Should we be expecting the world to end sometime in 2020? It's been such a bad year so far. People have thought like this right throughout history, when earthquakes happen, when volcanic eruptions have happened, when there's been massive disasters, when there's been wars. And St. Paul, writing to the Thessalonians, was a perfect example of this. It's where a community was starting to think, and there were people starting to chatter within the community, that the world is coming to an end. And when people can get whipped up like this, they start to change their habits, their routines, their structures. St. Paul had spent a good period of time in Thessalonica bringing these people to faith, and they developed a routine, as many of us have over 50, 60, 70 years of life and so on. We've developed routines of our practice of faith, which is a fantastic thing. And then a disaster happens or a pandemic happens, our structures start to sort of get broken down. And then people think, oh, well, the end's going to be upon us in 5 seconds. And people start to sort of lose some of that structure, that practice of that routine of faith. And so Paul writes to this community and says, don't be deceived by those people who are saying the world's coming to an end today or tomorrow. Continue to practice your faith. Continue in the ways that you've learned right throughout your life. Don't give up now because a disaster's happened. Actually become more fervent in the practice of faith, in the routines, the traditions, as St. Paul says, that you were taught. He says, stand firm, brothers. Keep the traditions that we taught you, whether by word of mouth or by letter. And I think that's what Jesus is getting at in this very harsh gospel that we have today. It's one of the harshest of the gospels of all of the 4 gospels, where Jesus is really, you could say, putting the scribes and their Pharisees in their place. You scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. He says this a number of times. And what he's saying is that sometimes we get focused on all the externals and whipping people up into this fury that we forget that each of us are called to be saints. Each of us are called to make the changes in our life to allow God to find a dwelling place within us. Today's saint who we honour, St. Louis, he made the changes in his own life so that he didn't worry about all of the externals. He worried first of all about what was in his heart. Yes, the externals needed to be there as well, but first and foremost it was his heart, a man of prayer, a man of God, a man of family, a man of the people. And that's what we're called to be as well. Let's focus on ourselves first. As Jesus says to the Pharisee, blind Pharisee, clean the inside of the cup and the dish first, so that the outside may also become clean. Let's focus on cleaning the inside, cleaning who we are, allowing God to dwell in us so that we can help to bring God's presence into our world today. Let's today be inspired by this great saint from the 11th and 12th century, St. Louis. Pray for us.